Can you unmute yourself? Dr. Sharmila, you had to unmute. Right now you're muted. Yeah.
Sir, sir, we are trying to connect with the YouTube, sir.
Yeah.
Just the technical problem here. Yes, now it is live on YouTube.
Okay.
We can start it, sir. I will allow the participants also. NVS, sir, can you hear me? NVS, sir? Jimmy, sir, am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, 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 you are.
Yes, okay, thank you, sir.
Shall I share the screen?
Sir, just so after my introduction, you can share, sir.
Yeah, sure. Okay, okay, no problem. Yes.
Yes, sir. NVS, sir, is it clear? May I start? Good morning, everyone, and welcome you for today's session on International FDP program, which is conducted by Department of Pharmacy Practice, Chalpati Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. I am Dr. Sharmila Nirojini, Associate Professor, Department of Pharmacy Practice, Chalpati Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. I thank each and every participant for your active participation during this FDP. I hope everyone utilized the everyday session. Today we are having here Dr. Jimmy Jose, Associate Professor in Clinical Pharmacy and Pharmacy Practice, School of Pharmacy, University of Niswa, Sultanate of Oman. I hope many of you know about sir. It is my privilege to introduce Dr. Jimmy Jose. Dr. Jimmy Jose is presently working as Associate Professor in Pharmacy Practice, Clinical Pharmacy in School of Pharmacy at University of Niswa, Sultanate of Oman. He additionally held the position as Assistant Dean for Research at the College of Pharmacy and Nursing. His previous major academic appointments include in International Medical University, Malaysia and Manipal University, India. Dr. Jose was awarded his PhD in the year 2008 from Manipal University, India, and the field of research was pharmacovigilance. He is presently undertaking a postgraduate professional development course in pharmacoepidemiology and pharmacovigilance from London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, University of London. He had the opportunity to receive training in clinical pharmacy at Michigan Hospital, University of Michigan, USA, as a part of PharmaBridge program of International Pharmaceutical Federation, that is FIP. His academic teaching experience include in postgraduate and undergraduate level for M.Pharm, PharmD, and the M.Pharm program and B.Pharm in women. He was invited to an external examiner for doctoral and master level thesis within and outside women. His clinical experience includes part-time clinical pharmacy services in the Department of Medicine in Niswa Hospital, Ministry of Health, Oman, and Department of Medicine, Kasturba Hospital, Manipal. His primary field of research is hospital-based pharmacovigilance. Additionally, he has done research work in the field of patient medication adherence and knowledge attitude perception of public in drug use related aspects. He was successful in obtaining research funds from the Research Council, Oman, from University of Niswa, along with the multidisciplinary team. He has received travel grants from the international organizations as International Society of Pharmacovigilance and International Society of Pharmacoepidemiology. During his research career, close to 40 articles are published in peer-reviewed journals, and the publications have received more than 1,050 citations. He has rendered services to the pharmacy and other healthcare professional community in Oman, including association with the Pharmacovigilance Department at the Ministry of Health in conducting pharmacovigilance workshop, as well as educational presentation at various other conferences and workshops. He served as a member of Patient Safety Curriculum Committee, as well as Regional Research and Ethics Committee of Ministry of Health, Oman. With this brief introduction, I would like to invite Dr. Jimmy Jose for his presentation. I'm welcoming you, sir. And first of all, I'm thanking you for your kind acceptance. We know how much you are busy with your research schedule during these pandemic days, how you are busy with your online classes and other academic activities. You kindly accept our invitation, and you are spending this spending your valuable time of 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes to the aspirants who are wanted to do research in the field of pharmacy practice. It is my privilege to inviting you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Shamila. Thanks for the introduction. It was not brief, in fact. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for the nice introduction. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to be part of this FDP program. I'm seeing Dr. NVR, I think is the head of the department is here. So saying hello to Dr. NVR as well, and other members, other faculty members of Chalabudi Institute, and other participants who are here, the students as well as other faculty members. So I'm happy that Dr. Shamila invited me maybe 10 or 15 days back through WhatsApp. She first sent a message. It was by surprise, but later when we discussed together, we understood what exactly is being expected. And I would like to thank Dr. Shamila for understanding the schedule and trying to sort out as well as make an arrangement for a presentation that is suitable for everyone. So I appreciate the efforts that has been done by Chalabudi at this level, because when people are not able to attend the regular conferences and programs, that are making people engaged with such activities, that is really appreciable. I happen to see that it's not only in pharmacy practice, in other departments as well. It's been an ongoing process. That's really appreciable, because though it's an online activity, it takes time for the organizers to arrange everything, as well as to have all those things aspects. So I really appreciate the efforts. I'm happy to be part of this event, right? Can I start?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Please share your screen and you can start your session, sir.
Yeah. Can you allow me to share the screen?
Yes, sir. Just you can try now, sir. We made you a host, so you can try. You can directly share your screen.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Sir, please make it a full screen.
Is it not full screen now?
Sir.
For me, it's showing as full screen. Is it not full screen? For me, it's showing as full screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, it's okay, sir. Now.
Okay. Yeah. So shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you once again. So first of all, just to introduce my topic. So what has been the topic that has been given across to me, or what we have been agreed upon, is to discuss on the challenges and opportunities in pharmacy practice related research, the pragmatic approaches or the practical approaches in conducting pharmacy practice related research, the challenges and opportunities which come across. Yeah, first of all, I would like to give a disclaimer that this is not a pure scientific presentation, like I'm referencing to other articles of something of that sort. Like it's not a pure scientific presentation. I'm just trying to share my thoughts and experiencing in conducting pharmacy practice and research, or in general, like regarding research based on my limited experience, right? And these are basically personal opinions or approaches which I felt like was been working for me. And I hope, I'm not sure whether it will be the most appropriate one or the one which will be more suitable as well. And again, I'm not a very senior researcher to give opinions or approaches, but just I'm just trying to share my experiences, like as well as approaches, like over probably like last 15 years with PhD and after PhD. So it's again, I should give a disclaimer, like I'm not a very senior experienced researcher, but based on my limited experiences, things which worked out for me, or like which the strategies that I usually personally do when I'm thinking about a research in pharmacy practice, I'm just trying to share, and there is no references as such which I use other than the Google images that I use over here. I'm just trying to share whatever I felt as being useful for me to do research in the field of pharmacy practice. So this is a question that comes across in the mind of every individual, right? So be an academic faculty or someone in the clinical setting, like this is a question that comes in the mind of everyone, right? So why should we do research, right? So why should we do research? Each person will be having their own reasons for doing research. But if you look from a personal point of view, right, from a personal point of view, I personally feel that always we'll be having some curiosity to know things, right? So the curiosity is something that has been built in humans. Research is a part of trying to solve those curiosities, right? So we are trying to understand things which are curious for us. When you're doing it in a formalized manner, in a systematic manner, it becomes research, right? So we are not, people who are in academic researchers are not only the people who are doing research. Everyone in the world are doing some sort of research. The only thing is that when it comes to research in academics or other aspects, like we are doing more in a formalized manner, right? So, and again, we can say that it's basically we are trying to poke as well as pry things, or we are poking and prying things with a purpose, right? So we have a specific goal, to understand, are curious about something, and we are trying to understand that particular something. So that is the major aspects which leads you to do research. And again, as you know, we know that like when you are trying to identify something, when you are doing research, you are trying to become a leader rather than a follower, right? So because people who are following are the details that has been already been identified or that has been shared by people who are already done that, right? So when we are doing research, we are trying to become a leader, right? So we are trying to become a leader rather than being a follower, but doesn't mean that everyone who is doing a research will become a leader, but at least we are trying our best to identify something that is good for the society, thereby other people can also follow us in the right track. So that is the purpose of innovation or trying to do research. What are the real benefits? That's a question which comes up or pops in the mind of every individual at various levels. Like if you are a student, right, definitely like at some point of time when you're doing a PharmD thesis, doing an MPharm thesis, or when you're doing a PhD thesis or after PhD as well, at some point of time, this question might arise in your mind. What are the real benefits of doing research? Of course, like when you're as a student, like we do research for the sake, or we can say that like for completing the requirements of the university, right? Completing the requirements of the university. At the same time, there will be some amount of inclination for that has been deep in you, like which makes you to do research, right? So basically, I felt that we don't have to wait for others to push you to do research. If you wait for others to do research, like that, definitely push you to do research. Definitely, like you'll be having these questions all throughout your mind as well as all throughout your life, right? So are there any real benefits of doing research? I felt like personal satisfaction of doing research should be the major driving force for you to do research, right? Rather than waiting for someone else to push you to do research or going by the guidelines of the university or something of that sort. In addition to that, of course, we have to follow that. There are requirements from the employer that you should do research in such and such aspects also to that level. But in addition to that, something that should be a driving force in you should be the personal satisfaction of doing research. And again, if you have the attitude to do your bit for the benefit of the society, definitely I feel like this will help you in various ways. Let me just take the laser pointer. Yeah, if you have the attitude to do your bit for the society, right? Because when you're doing research, you're doing your bit, right? So some sort of additions that you're doing to the society. So if you have that attitude, definitely you will not be pondered by this question all throughout your life. And if you look at the job profile, like if you look from the pharmacy practice sector, right, definitely I feel like every job profile should have a component of research wherever it is possible, right? So there should be a component, like in some situations that is not practically possible, but wherever it is possible, there should be a component of research. When it comes to academics, as we know, like we have teaching, we have research, community services, and administrative services. So all these three aspects, the teaching, research, and community services should go hand in hand, right? A teacher cannot be only a teacher. Along with teaching, there should be some sort of research that has been happening. And people who are involved in administrative activities, definitely they have to spend more time in administrative activities rather than teaching and research. But at least we should, as such, try that some amount of our time should be spent on research so that we are always in track with research and along with other activities. So the research should carry a good amount of weightage in your job profile, especially when you are working in an academic setting. And again, if you look at another aspect like interest or motivation for doing research, like we know that like people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do it, right? All of us may not be able to change the world, or all of us may not be able to identify a new drug or something new. But at least if you have that information or motivation to identify or to do something to the society as well as to come out with some new data, that is something which will definitely motivate you as well as push you to do research. And if you're willing to do more than what you're paid to do, eventually you will be paid to do more than what you do. Like I found this quote to be quite interesting. Like I think it's been from Anonymous. So when you are working in a setup, right, if you're willing to do something more than what you have been paid to do, definitely you'll be able to join a job wherein like you'll be paid more than what you do, right? So definitely research should be considered as a factor. If you're working in pharmacy practice or any other sector, research is a factor which you should not always materialize. Like it should not always materialize, okay, what are the real benefits? Definitely there are benefits, but sometimes the benefits might be long-term benefits. Someone who has done a PhD, at some point of time, we think like, okay, I've done my PhD, what is the benefit of doing the research? Of course, promotion is one factor. But in addition to that, there should be an internal drive for you to do something which will definitely take you further along, right? So there should be a component of personal satisfaction as well. And definitely people should have individual goals in research, right? So rather than depending totally on what the institution asks you to do, like there should be individual goals. We should have individual goals, like, and these individual goals could be optimistic, and it should be optimistic, and a bit of imaginative, right? A bit of imaginative. At the same time, it could be realistic as well. Like we need to be quite optimistic about like what we can do, right? But at the same time, we need to be realistic as well. It is easy to find multiple reasons for not doing or involving in quality research, right? So it's easy to find reasons for not doing research. Let us see that like it will be good like if you keep the research outputs, the publications, presentations which comes out of research as the incentives, right, that you give yourself, right? So these are personal incentives that you give yourself. At the end of the year, we keep some targets. Okay, I'm planning to have at least 2 publications in this particular year. I'm planning to publish an article in this particular journal, right? So these are all incentives that give yourself. Like you look into the PubMed, you see that, okay, in next 3 years, I'm trying to see that like there are at least 6 of my articles that has been indexed in PubMed. So it means like you need to keep personal goals as well as you need to keep certain incentives for yourself, right? Just a second. Yeah. Okay, when it comes to research in pharmacy practice specifically, like when it comes to research in pharmacy practice specifically, we can see that pharmacy practice researchers are always may not be considered as pure researchers, right, or pure scientists. And usually people, I'm not saying it generally, like usually like when we look from the outside, people might doubt the quality and quantity of research that has been done in pharmacy practice. Usually that is quite natural because we don't have an end product, because basically you don't have an end product. If you talk about like pharmaceutics, if you talk about chemistry, if you talk about some other streams, like you can say that, okay, at the end of the work, usually you'll be having an output, like a tangible outcome might be seen, or there are research projects wherein like you don't have a tangible outcome. At the same time, you can see that like in pharmacy practice, it's basically you come out with data, you come out with certain findings, right? So which may not be considered really as an end product by people who are looking from externally, right? But we need to understand that the research findings are in fact the products, right? The research findings from your study are in fact the products. And the research outcomes in the form of publications and presentation increases the value of the product, right? The research outcomes in the form of publications and presentations, right? So which increases the value of the product. In pharmacy practice, we need to realize that there are wide opportunities, like there are wide opportunities in doing research in pharmacy practice, right? And we need to realize and we need to understand, acknowledge that the clinical settings wherein we work, right? Well, let's say like if it's in the hospital setting or in the community setting, they're basically treasures. They're basically treasures for doing research. Because a good amount of medication-related information is unexplored in many of the clinical settings, right? If you talk from the hospital setting, like many times we can see that a good amount of information on medications are left unexplored. So when you go, especially if you are starting a new department, pharmacy practice department in a hospital setting, where nothing much has been done in the field of medications and related aspects, right? So it's basically a treasure wherein like you need to really look into and find out like what are the kind of research which can do it, right, for the mutual benefit for the hospital as well as for the pharmacy department as well. And we can see that like experts, researchers with genuine interest in the field of medication-related aspects are usually lacking in the clinical settings, because if we talk from the doctors or the nurses, they have their own major field, right? If you talk about doctors, definitely they are interested in treatment and other aspects, but in addition to that, they are inclined towards disease and other aspects as well. The nursing services, like they are more involved in other services and other types of work. But people who are having a genuine interest in medication-related research are usually lacking, with a genuine interest, are usually lacking in clinical settings. And pharmacy practice people should take it as an opportunity. They should take it as an opportunity to explore as well as evaluate the data that has been available in a hospital setting or in a community setting, especially related to the medication-related aspects. Again, for people working in pharmacy practice, they have the advantage or the opportunity that we have 4 major arenas, right? We have 4 major arenas, like we can do work in the field of clinical pharmacy. We can do work in hospital pharmacy related activities. You can do work in community pharmacy related activities. And definitely you can do work in public. And you can do work in public on medication and related aspects. So it's a wide range. So people can specialize or they can take all these 4 together. So normally like most of the people, like they might be having a mix of these wide arenas. There are various research areas where like pharmacy practice people can do research. So I'm just listing out the major aspects, the major, the broader classification of the various research areas. We have, definitely can do studies in drug utilization, prescribing pattern, patient medication counseling, patient medication adherence, medication safety or pharmacovigilance, drug effectiveness studies, pharmacoepidemiology, the knowledge, attitude, and practice studies of patients and public on medication use, knowledge, attitude, and practice of studies on healthcare professionals, especially related to pharmacy services or medication-related aspects, right? Or patient interactions. All those aspects could be evaluated. So that's an interesting area. Like many times people might think that the KP studies are basically questionnaire studies, which may not be of much bigger, but definitely if KP studies have been conducted with a proper planning, as well as come out with publishable results. So definitely it is useful. And this data as well, like if you look into the KP data, like it's definitely useful for people, especially the regulatory agencies as well as the decision-making agencies, to understand how does people think about medications? What do people think about medication safety? What are the perceptions? What are the misconceptions? Right? Because all these things are going to have a major impact. If public as well as the patients are not having an appropriate information or knowledge or having a good perception about medication and related aspects, so definitely it is going to have the medication use. Right? So usually we say that like whatever wonder drug you have it in store, unless the people are using it or the patients are using it in a proper way, there is no real benefit. And the way or the factors which decide whether the patients are using it in a proper way largely depends upon the patient's knowledge, attitude, as well as perception, and which finally leads up to the practice of a proper use of medication. So these are factors which require further evaluation. And these are KP studies are something in which you can do it in various settings, because the KP, the knowledge and attitude of people in one particular work setting or the clinical setting is might be totally different from another place. For example, like if you're talking about like the KP of people who are from Kerala, it might be definitely different. It might be different, right? I cannot say like definitely, but I can say that it might be different from what's the KP of people in Andhra or in Telangana, right? So it's basically there are differences in the knowledge because there are various factors which evaluate, and accordingly we had to ensure that this KP studies has to be conducted in various settings. And if you look into the digital era, as we know, like in the digital era, we have more opportunities. In the digital era, we have more opportunities. In many hospitals nowadays, like it has turned into electronic patient medical records. And most of the people who are from the previous generation, they usually might understand like how the data was being collected when we were doing our PhD and all, right? So we had to go to the hospital medical record section, take out each file, and it was a tedious process. But now in those hospitals where you have the electronic patient medical records, things has become quite easier for them, right? And accordingly, like searching for information, identifying if you have a proper search term, and if you work along with the computer specialist over there, right? It is quite easy. And again, when they're having coding and all those aspects, it becomes easier for people to identify as well as to extract data from the patient medical records. You have databases that has been available, which makes it easy. And many times, like in many hospitals or the clinical pharmacy departments, they have their ADR reporting databases. So it's quite easier for if you are storing the information on adverse reactions, drug information, or interventions, or any other data that you have been storing in databases. You can evaluate it in different ways. You can evaluate it in different ways, or you can extract the data in different occasions, right? To be in an easier by an easier method. Right? And now we have the online surveys. Like previously, like definitely, like we have to go personally to the public or the patients to do surveys. Nowadays, like people might go for online surveys, like patients, public, they might go for online surveys because they're used to the digital world. Of course, the online surveys has its own advantages. At the same time, it has the disadvantages as well. I'm not going into those aspects, but you might understand, or you should always take in your mind that the online surveys, when you're doing, it has its own advantages. At the same time, it has disadvantages as well, right? So that is something we need to be looking into, like how exactly the disadvantages can be reduced when you're doing online surveys. So when you're doing the research, like I need to say that definitely we need to identify a proper topic for research. That's a first as well as the foremost factor, right? So we need to give importance for that. many times, if you're not giving enough importance in identifying an appropriate topic, I mean appropriate in the sense like a topic which is appropriate based on various factors, right? So we need to identify an appropriate topic in which, because you're going to spend your time, you're going to spend your energy for a particular period of time. Right? For a particular period of time, you're going to spend your time as well as your energy in doing this research. So you need to ensure and you need to make sure that the time that you're spending in selecting the research topic is been appropriate, and you select the most appropriate research topic. Okay? There are factors which influence the selection of a research topic. Definitely, it depends upon the research interest of the individual. It depends upon the research expertise, right? So at one point of time, we had to see that, like, okay, we need to streamline, though I said, like, we have various arenas, clinical pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, community pharmacy, or public. Like, in these 4 arenas as well, like, we might be having some expertise. Some might be quite well-versed in doing studies in patient medication adherence. Some might be well-versed in doing studies on patient in drug safety. So we need to consider the research expertise. We need to see that, okay, at some point of time, we have to see that, okay, we will be able to do studies in all the different opportunities, or utilizing the different opportunities or different areas. But at the same time, we need to streamline, like, okay, I'll be doing more and more of work in this particular field, so that you become an expert in that particular field. So we need to see that what is your research expertise when you're talking about medication safety. Are you an expert, or are you having an inclination to do like advanced studies in the field of medication safety? We need to look at the needs of the society. What does the society need, right? We need to look at the potential outcomes of the society. If you're doing a research just for the sake of doing research, right? So it might be benefiting your personal goals, but is that particular study having a potential outcome for the society? So definitely, as you know, like when you're submitting a proposal for funding or any other aspect, right? So we can see that definitely one among the factor that you need to fill is that what are the expected outcomes for the society? What is the need for the study, right? So we need to be satisfy that particular question. What are the benefits that society might get by doing this study? At the same time, we have to see, like, if you are doing the study, what are the potential research outcomes of what you are coming out, whether it will be a publishable work or not. It will be a work that could be presented in conferences or not, right? So we need to look into those aspects. And again, we need to look for the need of the hot topics, right? Personally, I'm not much inclined to do studies that, or the hot topics. We can see that, like, sometimes people, like, they are more inclined to do studies only on those hot topics, the topics which comes that has been quite fresh in the market. So again, it depends upon the individuals. Like, definitely that there should be people who are doing studies on the hot topics, which are the need of the hour. But definitely it should not be like you are just concentrating on the hot topics. Like, there should be hot topics as well as the topics which will be of benefit for the society on the long run as well. And if you are talking about the research topics, I use the term interaction with research topics, because research topics are something which usually pops up in your mind. And that's what personally I felt, right? So the topics for research is not something like you sit at one particular place. May not be always that you sit at one particular place and start thinking about, okay, what are the topics for research that I should select, right? It might be like you might be sitting at one place and thinking, as well as trying to search for topics wherein you have to do research. At the same time, I personally felt like the topics for research usually pop up in your mind at different point in your life, right? Those who are doing ward rounds. While attending ward rounds, you find a drug-related problem in the wards or the clinical setting, which makes you to feel that, okay, this is a topic that is worth to be done, right? When you're discussing with a peer or a colleague, maybe when you're discussing with a doctor, there is some topic that comes up in your mind, okay, this is a topic worth to be done. When you're reading literature, you get an idea, okay, this is a topic which has been done in that particular clinical setting or that country. There may not be much studies conducted in our setting, so let us have a look at it or let us think about it. Or when you're attending a research session, so one among the benefit of attending conferences or research sessions is that it gives you more ideas on what kind of topics that you can select for doing research. Definitely, you need that, like personally, as well as all of you might agree that when you're attending a conference or when you're attending a research session, at that particular time, during that particular time, you'll be totally motivated to do research. You feel that, okay, when I get back to my office or when I get back to my college, like I definitely want to do some research, right? So you'll be definitely motivated. So, or it might be like, it can happen at any odd time. At any odd time, there might be topics which pop up in your mind. So what you should do, what I feel that, keep documenting those topics, right? So you don't have to think much about whether those topics are really feasible or not, right? So keep documenting those topics which are, those ideas which come in your mind. And then you can evaluate further on those topics at a later stage, right? Because we may not be able to study further about the topic at that particular point of time. So whenever it comes in your mind, write it down somewhere in a systematic manner, so that at a later stage, you are able to evaluate as well as ponder on the topic and further to see whether there is a real need for doing that study. Is it feasible to do the study, as well as other factors, which I mentioned in the previous slide, right? So these are practical ways, because many times we feel that, I have felt that, because you don't write down those topics or ideas, when you try to search, okay, what did I think at that particular time, you might forget, right? So there might be some ideas which comes in your mind at that time, probably like when you start writing the topic, there might be other aspects which comes in your mind along with that. So please write down, because these flow of ideas may not come at another time. At the same way it happened at that, with that instinct, right? So definitely try to keep it a habit, keep documenting whatever topics that comes in your mind and later evaluate. And definitely, like you might have, we come across at various situations wherein, like we say that, okay, I have many research topics in my mind, I have many research ideas, but I'm not able to do anything because of various factors, right? So that's something that happens for everyone. Like we are having some inertias to do research, right? There are various factors which hold us in doing research or getting it started, right? As Mark Twain was rightly in a very simple statement, is that the secret of getting ahead is getting started. So once you started, probably like things will work along with you, and so that you can move ahead. And always try to think positive. Right? We think positive that, okay, I will be able to do something, and accordingly good things will happen as part of it. And everyone should agree, will agree that success is not an accident, right? It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, and sacrifice. And most important, I really love the statement that if you have a love for what you're doing, right? Or if you have a love for learning what you are trying to learn, right? So definitely that is something which will definitely help you in moving forward, right? So whatever you're doing, as I said earlier in the first or second slide, the attitude makes a difference. If you have a right attitude, if you really like to do something on that particular topic, definitely things will work out for you and you'll be able to succeed in that aspect. And planning the conduct of the research, as I said, like you need to refine the topic. You need to refine the topic that is you are written down somewhere. You need to refine the topic. And as much as possible, we should try to collaborate with people, right? So it is usually like studies when they have been done collaboratively, they are likely to be more fruitful. Especially if you look from the pharmacy practice point of view, we have a unique advantage, an opportunity to collaborate with healthcare professionals, right? So we have the opportunity, having the advantage to collaborate with clinicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals, right? And this is an area, again, I consider this as a treasure. This is as a treasure wherein like people should, those who are working in the pharmacy practice setting, they should not shy away from interacting with clinicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals in doing research as well. So definitely, like for doing pharmacy practice related services, we do that. At the same time, we should always try to keep in mind that there is a potential opportunity for collaborating for doing research as well. And people usually consider pharmacists, right? Those who are in the healthcare sector, they consider pharmacists as medication experts. At some point of time, we might forget that, but definitely people from outside, that they consider us as medication experts, right? And we have been looked upon to initiate and lead research in the field of medication. So this is my personal experience like especially both while I was working in Manipal as well as while I was in NISWA hospital over here, I observed that the clinicians are really like they look upon to clinical pharmacists or people from the pharmacy practice department to initiate as well as lead research in the field of medications, right? So I was lucky to have a good, like a team or doctors with whom I was able to interact well, as well as to work along well, with whom like we are able to do some quality research as well as to come out with quality papers, right? So again, it was a collective effort. So it was a collective effort which was really helpful. So always keep in mind, like in any clinical setting, we can identify that there are certain doctors or there are certain nurses or healthcare professionals. They have an inclination towards research. So keep a good contact with them, try to understand the needs or try to understand the topics that they would like to look upon and try to collaborate, provide the expertise, provide the support so that we can come out with a proper research topic. Right? So it is very essential to keep a healthy relationship with clinicians and especially with those who are having an inclination for research. Because all doctors may not be having an inclination to research. Some may be more concentrated on practice only. But there are some who have been would like to keep research along with practice. So have a cross relationship with those individuals, which will definitely help you in going an extra mile. And always try to involve individuals who could really contribute one way or the another. And we need to think as well as we need to take time in thinking over and refining the topic. Involve others when you're doing this particular aspect. So involve others in while you are trying to refine the topic, because many times we might forget or we may not really identify all those aspects of the topic, right? So when you're involving others, we get more ideas, thereby we can refine the topic in a better way. And if you talk about, again, those faculties from pharmacy practice, we know that we spent a good amount of time in supervising student research projects, right? Always keep in mind, like the student as well as ourselves, like we are spending a lot of time and efforts in supervising as well as conducting the project, right? Always plan. It should not be something that has been done in Harbury. Like it should be something like we plan properly so that we will be able to come out with a publishable work, right? We should be able to come out with a publishable work. At the same time, we have to give consideration of the interests of the students and the practical difficulties, right? So student project should be like a student project. At the same time, we should motivate the students as well, right? They should not consider it as a burden. They should not consider it as a burden. Discuss with them regarding the potential benefits of doing a publishable work, right? Probably you may have to put some extra efforts in coming out with a quality work as well as a publishable work. Let the student be motivated. It should not be like the student is doing the work for the sake of the staff. Let the student be motivated to do a quality work, and they let them understand, let them take the responsibility of coming out with the publishable work, which will definitely benefit them in the long run. So many times students may not realize, I know like there are students who are listening as well. During your student life, you might consider, you might feel that the research as well as publications and all those things are something like a burden, right? Of course, it is a burden when you are thinking about like it has been along with other activities. But understand, if you're doing a research in a proper way, because you're learning something which you are going to be there in your life throughout, right? So if you learn something to be done systematically, definitely, and if you get publications or presentations, it makes a difference when you're applying for your job, like whether it's in academics or you're applying for a job industry, it definitely makes a difference. And again, you never know where you're working, there might be research opportunities. So if you have done something in a systematic way, definitely it will help you in doing things in a systematic way throughout your life, right? So that is basically, if you consider it as a background as well as a base on which you will be able to build up. If you are done something in a very shabby way, like in a 50-50 way, right? So throughout your life, it will be difficult to come out of that 50-50 way, right? So you need to ensure that, okay, when you're doing something, because you're spending time as well as you're spending your energy. So do it with proper dedication so that it becomes a good base for you as well. And again, always remember when you are doing research, everyone, like we have to consider the interests and contributions of involved parties, right? So everyone who have been involved as well as who have contributed, they should be properly been either they should be there in the authors list, or depending upon the level of contribution, they should be acknowledged as well. And when we are doing research, definitely be clear on the individual responsibilities. So many times it happens that when you are talking about a research project, people are there, they are quite happy to be part of the team. But at a later stage, it becomes the headache of the principal investigator or the co-principal investigator. So we need to be clear at the beginning itself, like what are the individual responsibilities of the members of the research team to avoid all those problems at a later stage. So what is expected to be done by individuals, right? And we should be clear on the order of authorship. If you are going for a narrative review, if you're going for systematic review, or when you're doing start writing a research paper, or when you start doing a proposal, let these things be clear, like what is the order of authorship. So avoid all those mishaps as well as like conflicts at a later stage. And then the next thing is to plan for the requirements of the project. Is it attainable? We need to think about it. Really, we need to think about it, right? Is this project or this project attainable? Whether we require a funding or it could be a non-funded project. In pharmacy practice, we know, like many times, since it is basically based on data, right? We may not require funding at all instances. At all instances, we may not require funding, unlike other streams, right? We can do a good amount of work as non-funded, because when you're working in a hospital setting, when the data has been available, so definitely we might be able to do studies in a non-funded manner, right? So if you're having funding, definitely it has the benefits. We'll discuss about it. It doesn't mean that I'm saying that, okay, always go for a non-funded projects, but funding should not be something which deter you from doing project, right? Those areas wherein you can do non-funded projects, so try to do it. And definitely with those outputs we are having from the non-funded projects, which will definitely build up your CV, which helps in you in getting funding at a later stage, right? And again, in pharmacy practice, we not always, weigh an individual based on the amount of funding they have got. In the sense, like the actual amount of funding, because, like in pharmacy practice, compared to many other streams, like the amount of funding that is required to conduct a study might not be as much high. Like usually we do not require an expensive instrument to be purchased or something of that sort, right? But definitely you should understand, like having the status of being funded makes a difference to the entire project. So definitely when you're submitting a proposal to a funding agency, we become more clear about it. We become more specific about the proposal. And definitely it will influence the quality of research work. When you have funded work, definitely we try to ensure that the research work is of best quality. And the research outputs, because we have to ensure that a funded project, we are inclined to submit it to more quality journals and get it published in journals with a higher impact factor. And this is something which we usually feel like in the initial period of doing research, right, you'll be facing challenges. In the initial period, there will be lack of clarity, right? Because we have initiated, but still there are a lot of things which has to join together, or there are things which has to work together so that we can move forward. So that is quite natural. At the initial stages, you can find that there will be many hindrances which make you to delay the initiation of the project, or which makes you to become lazy, right? So, but understand, right? There are usually you cannot expect those inertias. How well you come out of those inertias and difficulties is that makes a difference. When you're preparing a proposal, spend time in writing, reviewing, and revising the proposal, because the proposal is the basic aspect. Many times it happens that you have the deadline that has been coming up, and you need to write a proposal in a quite speedy manner. So that is going to affect your entire research work. Because as you know, like whatever you have agreed upon in the proposal, you have to follow that, right? Unless, of course, you have to follow that. And if there are deviations, you have to inform the approving authority, right? So as much as possible, try to spend enough time in writing, reviewing, as well as revising the proposal. Because if the proposal has been well done, a good amount of the work has been done as well. You need to be sure regarding what are the evaluation parameters in the beginning itself. Many times it happens that you write the proposal, when it comes to the study procedure or the evaluation parameters, we think, okay, let the data come in, like, and then we can think about like what are the evaluation parameters, right? So that is not something that has been practically a good approach, because we need to be sure that what are we trying to evaluate. The parameters for evaluation should be very clear so that we are able to work on it, as well as we don't have to spend much time in evaluating it or identifying those parameters at a later stage. Plan for appropriate statistical analysis, right? It happens that we mentioned that, okay, in the column wherein you are supposed to mention regarding statistical analysis, we might mention that, okay, appropriate statistical analysis will be conducted, right? Of course, everyone tries to do it in an appropriate manner, but it is very much well appreciated, as well as very much well acknowledged if you are able to specify what are the kind of tools that you are trying to use, right? So if the evaluation parameters are clear for you, you will be able to plan the statistical analysis in a better way at the beginning itself, right? And wherever possible, if you're not much well versed with statistical aspects, involve a statistician and let these things be clear. The evaluation parameters as the statistical methods that you are planning to use, let it be clear in the beginning itself. Spend time in preparing a proper data collection form or questionnaire, because it might be a tool that you are going to use. The entire research and your entire discussion, as well as your publication, all those things are greatly dependent upon the data collection form that you are using, as well as the questionnaire that you are using. And always remember to obtain appropriate permissions when you are using questionnaires from others, right? When you are taking something else from others, like ensure like appropriate permissions have been taken. That is ethically important, as well as like when you're trying to publish somewhere, there is a question that has been asked, and ethically as well, you need to ensure that like appropriate permissions have been taken before we venture upon any particular questionnaire. And sometimes it happens like when you're going for student research projects, we see that, okay, we have a questionnaire that has been used in another setting, in another country. We cannot expect that everything that has been used in another country will be applicable in our country as well, right? So you need to really look into those questionnaire, whether this questionnaire as well as the elements of the questionnaire will be really useful for us in our setting or not. Spend time in obtaining appropriate approvals, permissions, and consent, right? This is sometimes a challenge for pharmacy practice related work, like compared to other kind of work, of course, like those who are doing animal studies, they have to get approval from the animal ethics committee. At the same time, we know that like when it comes to human research, we need to be more sure, more clear about what we're doing. And we have to ensure that the research and ethics committee's approval is being taken, right? Before doing anything, right? It should not be like at the midway of your project, you go for, or you get the research and ethics committee approval, right? So you have to ensure that you do the study or start the study after getting the approval from the research and ethics committee. And as you know, like, and provide all the relevant details to the research and ethics committee so that they can look into the ethical aspects of the project and give an appropriate approval. Get the approval from the hospital administration. As you know, like when you're working in a hospital setting or when you are doing your service in the hospital setting, you feel that, okay, all the data has been readily available. So wherever you are supposed to get the approval from the hospital administration, ensure that you are obtaining it well in advance so that there is no issues that has been happening at a later stage, right? So ensure like the approvals have been taken. If you're doing surveys in a school, definitely like you need to get the approval from the institution, or if you're doing surveys in another institution, you need to get approval from the institution. If you're doing surveys in the public places, for example, shopping malls or some other places, ensure that you're getting the approval or the consent from the manager of the shopping mall, because we are doing a survey or we are doing a study in another premises, right? So we are doing the study in another premises. So definitely we need to ensure that we get the approval or the consent from those who are responsible for that particular public place. right? So if you talk about our shopping malls and all, we need to be sure about it, because these are aspects when you are ethically, this is important. At the same time, when we are going for publishing as well, right? So these are aspects which makes it very clear that the student or like the faculty, like they were clear about the various aspects, and accordingly they are done the study. Patients and relatives informed consent. So I'm not going to the aspects of verbal or the written consent. Ensure like the appropriate consent has been taken. And when you're talking about conducting studies among children, the parents' assent has to be obtained, right? So, because they are vulnerable population. And it's very important that you have a working plan. When you're doing any form of research, you need to have a working plan. A proper plan should be there, a schedule should be prepared, and a Gantt chart should be prepared. And accordingly, as much as possible, we should try to stick to the schedule, and we should try to revisit the schedule in between to see that whether are we going or are we proceeding according to the schedule. The importance of pilot studies is irreplaceable. You know, like pilot studies are required when you're doing pharmacy practice related work at many times. And the pilot study, based on the pilot study, because if you're spending some time on this pilot study, right, of course, it's going to take some time and as well as energy, but it is going to streamline as well as optimize your study tool. It is going to optimize various aspects, the evaluation parameters and all those things, right? So understand the importance of pilot study. And we should have a periodic monitoring of the goals that has been achieved and update the respective granting agencies. Like if you're talking about research and ethics committee, if you're talking about the funding agency, they may have to be updated periodically regarding the progress of the study as well as at the end of the research. Right? It's not wait for them to query you, right? What is the progress of the study, right? It should be done on spontaneously from your side, because wherever you are being bound to do that, you're supposed to do it without being questioned for that. Challenges are all challenges on part and parcel of research, right? And definitely in pharmacy practice as well, it is now very different. But always remember, success is the sum of small efforts, repeated day in and out. We cannot expect that success comes in one particular day. It's a sum of small efforts that you do on every day, right? Because if you're talking about 6 months of a project, whatever you're doing on a daily basis, that is going to be of benefit for you, right? And you might understand that to be successful, definitely you had to put effort. At the same time, at many times, you might be having an inclination or you might be having thoughts of taking shortcuts. So taking shortcuts is not appropriate as well as not ethically right. If you have done something or if you are acknowledged to do something according to the proposal, you're bound to do that, right? It's easy to take shortcuts, but you can never take away the benefits of doing work by hard work, discipline, and sacrifice. When it comes to the results, spend time in appropriate analysis of the results and prepare the reports according to the required formats and guidelines. Right? So look into the guidelines as well as the formats by which you had to prepare the reports, right? And it's not like you spend time in preparing the reports and later you realize that, okay, the report was supposed to be prepared in another way, right? So it means like a proper planning is required at various levels, which will ensure that you are not wasting your time as well as your effort. This, I consider like it's a major part, disseminating the results, right? So if you're doing a project, definitely like how exactly you are going to disseminate the results. Are you going to publish it? Are you going to present it? The credentials of a project depends upon the research outputs, right? The publications and presentations are factors which will definitely add value to the research product, right? The quality and area of the journals makes a huge impact, right? The quality of the journal is a factor that you need to consider, right? Right from the beginning as a student as well, right? So being a student, when you're trying to submit your student research project, you should not try to settle with any particular journal. As much as possible, try to ensure that you are trying to publish it in a quality journal. And the area of the journal is as well important. When you're doing a pharmacy practice related project, as much as possible, you should try to publish it in a pharmacy practice related journal or a journal which has been including all those aspects related to pharmacy, right? But as much as possible, if it has been inclined to a pharmacy practice related journal, if you've done a study on medication safety, right? If you're able to get it published in a medication safety related journal, so that is a major, it makes a huge impact. It makes a huge impact. So as much as possible, try to publish in journals which have been specific to that topic or that particular arena. Conference presentations, it makes a difference. You're having, wherever possible, try to present it as an oral presentation. If you're getting accepted as an oral presentation, that is well and good. If not, go for a presentation. But first thing, try for an oral presentation. In the long run. As I said, definitely discussed about it, we need to plan, right, as well as try to present, as well as publish the student research project with consideration of various factors, right? For that, the faculty as well as the students should work together. Right? It should not be like the faculty going behind the student to get it published. The student should have an inclination as well as a commitment to ensure that the work you have done, the time and effort you have done, it has been seen by others, right? So whatever research you have come out with, right? People should be able to know it. Like if it is supposed to be kept just as a thesis in the library, right? Why do you have to spend so much time? If you have some data that has been that you have brought out, don't you think like it is your responsibility as a student or the supervisor to ensure that it has been known for others, for the benefit of others, right? So you need to have a commitment, a research commitment as well. And this is something which definitely will help you in a long run. Because I personally consider in this way, I feel that like harder you work for something when you're able to achieve it, right? When you work hard when you're doing your research project, if you're talking about a student research project, when you're working hard for the student research project, when you are able to complete it, you feel definitely more relieved and you feel like more contented than doing it in a like a 50-50 way with less of sincerity and dedication. When you're doing things with more dedication and with more effort, when you are achieving it, you are able to feel more relieved, right? And always remember, work hard in silence. Everyone need not be, you did not keep boasting that, okay, I'm doing it, I'm doing this, right? Let the success be your noise. You don't have to, other than depending upon talking about the progress, right? It's better that your success in the form of research outputs with the noise by which you are able to be identified by your research peers and all this. So that's the thing. I always consider that like if you're doing quality research, you have to ensure and you have to plan that this has to come out in the form of a publication or a presentation. And these publications and presentations should be the noise which will make you known in your research as well as your research team members as well as your peers. And everyone may not be having the opportunity to do original research because of their time commitments, because of their facilities that is available in a setting, right? You may not be able to always do an original research. But in pharmacy practice, we are in a benefit. We are having a benefit. Like those working in the hospital setting, definitely there are always opportunities to do publish case reports, case series. It's not only for the faculty, definitely for the students as well. When you're going for rounds, there are interesting cases that you are observing, adverse reactions, and a new adverse reaction or an interesting adverse reaction or a rare adverse reaction. So just consider, is this adverse reaction worth reporting in a journal? Will it be of benefit for people who are reading it, right? So if you feel that, okay, it is something that has been worth to be shared with others and work publishable, work on it. Because case reports might be the beginning of a publisher, right, or a researcher. Start with a case report and slowly you can build upon. You don't have to wait to do an original research to publish something. So again, in the hospital setting, you know that the case reports, you should involve the doctors as well, like who have been treating the case, discuss with them, discuss regarding the potential for reporting the case or the case report or the case series, and work along with them, collect the data, and accordingly try to publish it in a good journal, right? Letter to the editor, something you can work on, and I'm not going into the details, narrative reviews, right? So if you're not able to do original research, narrative reviews is something which no one is going to stop you in doing it. In the sense like with the availability of literature, easy literature, because compared to earlier times wherein we had to go to the library and search for the individual journals and look for relevant information. Now everything is in your fingertips, right? So it is quite easy to do literature survey as well as do narrative reviews, right? So identify a specific topic. If the students work along with the faculty, like is it possible to make a team, like 2 or 3 students make a team, think about like writing a narrative review, take the help of a teacher, get their support, get the guidance, and accordingly try to think about writing a narrative review. It may not be in a very high quality journal. I mean, like it may not be the high journal. Of course, I always keep the term like as much as possible. We should try to publish in quality journals. And it may not be the high-end journal, but definitely you can try in a quality journal to publish it as a narrative review. Because I know like there are students who are doing PharmD, they start their publishing career right from the big stage of being a student, right? And systematic reviews, I understand that Dr. Sai was discussing about systematic reviews yesterday or day before. This is an area that's quite important, as well as people are much into it, right? So the people are much into it. If you have a good research team, right? If you have a good research team, as well as you have an inclination, if you have an expertise in a particular aspect, definitely you have a higher chances of able to do a proper systematic review. Like you can form people who are already experienced in doing the systematic review. If you're not experienced in doing systematic review, understand the process of systematic review, tie up with someone who has already done a systematic review and try to do it. So this is something which definitely someone from pharmacy practice field can do, like if they don't have the opportunity for doing original research, right? I mean, like by original research, I meant like planning a proper proposal and doing the patient-related data and all those aspects. There are other aspects, other factors, arenas in which people can engage. Like if you're not able to do research at one point in time, try to gain experience as a reviewer. When you're doing reviewing, definitely it's going to benefit you. You're going to get more ideas on research. You're going to get more ideas on research. You're going to get more ideas on the methodology and the way other people are writing it, right? So try to gain experience as a reviewer. And now, earlier, when you're doing research, doing reviewing, like you can just list out the journals that's in which you have done the review. Now, as many of you might know that, like now we have a specific organization, I can say like a specific body, which is actually quantifying as well as certifying our reviews. It's called as Publon Reviews. If you look into the Google, like you can find out Publon Reviews, you can register there. And all the reviews that you're doing it, you can get it entered in the Publon. And after you're completing any particular review, usually like journals will ask a question like, would you want this to be informed or included in as part of Publon Reviews? You can do that so that all the reviews that you have done, it has been listed out and you are able to get a certificate which shows that, okay, this individual or this researcher or reviewer has done this many reviews till June 2020, right? And this is 95% more percentile. So they will give percentiles and all those data, which will be definitely useful, which will be something like a certificate showing that what is the work that you have done as a reviewer, right? So earlier it was not there, but it's a good thing that Publons has done. We are able to quantify as well as certify it. We can, those who are not well versed with doing reviewing, right? The Publons has a free, if I'm not mistaken, it's a free service that has been provided by Publons, as well as Publons Academy, in which you'll be able to get some sort of supervision from an experienced reviewer who will help you in understanding the process of review, right? And experienced reviewers, those who are having experience in reviewer, you can register in Publons Academy as a mentor for like mentoring juniors in the review process. That's again, it will be an add-on which you can do. These are other activities that you can involve in, and thereby you are making contributions to the research society. And your involvement as an EDGE or remote member, definitely it's going to take you in the long run, right? And you can apply along with your, because there are, the advertisement is available along with many journal website requesting for members to submit their request to be a reviewer, and sometimes as an editorial board member. And sometimes what you can do is that you can submit your request or express your opinion, express your interest to become an editorial board member to the general editor. And many of the general editors will reply to that particular request, and they will ask for your CV. They will look through the CV, and then they will reply whether you will be included as an editorial board member. So that is an aspect that you can work on. So it was regarding the various challenges and opportunities. And I'm not sure whether people have been expecting this or not, or they were expecting more scientific, in which they are talking about the various research arenas for pharmacy practice and all those aspects. But considering the faculty as well as the students who are listening to the presentation, what I felt like, I think talking about the practical aspects, because my title is about pragmatic approaches. The practical aspects of planning research, doing research, publishing work, a field of pharmacy practice, based on my limited experience. That's what I felt like it would be of benefit for the audience, right? To summarize, the positive attitude towards research makes a huge difference, and self-motivation is the key, right? So I stress on this aspect. Having a good attitude to do research and self-motivation. You should be motivated by yourself, right? You don't have to wait for someone else to motivate you to do research, right? And there are tremendous opportunities for pharmacy practice research with multiple arenas and unique opportunities for multidisciplinary research. You have in a better position that it is easy for you to do multidisciplinary research along with doctors, along with nurses. So utilize the opportunity. You are sitting near to a treasure of lots of data. So utilize the opportunity to the maximum possible. Work along with your students. I have planned student research projects in such a way that, you can utilize those data and come out with quality work, which will be beneficial for you and the personal level, as well as more than the personal benefit. It should be something of benefit for the society as well, right? Challenges are most manageable with patience and hard work. Right? The challenges are part and parcel of research. They are mostly manageable with patience and hard work. Planning and review are components which will influence the final output. You need to do a proper planning before you conduct your research. You need to review it, how exactly you are progressing, so that it will definitely influence the final output of your research. And again, credentials of any research is greatly valued based on the research output. So don't shy away from publishing or presenting your work. If you have some work that has been not published in the recent time, so definitely consider to take it out, try to publish it, because always remember the amount of time as well as efforts that you have put will not come to know for the society, or neither as a part of social commitment, right, or a commitment to the clinical society, right? So unless you are publishing it for the benefit of others, it won't be valued or it won't be satisfied. So always remember, try to come out with a publication or presentation from the research projects you are done, and always keep in your mind, especially right from the pharmacy practice field, we had to ensure like the research has been conducted in an ethical way, right? It's not only for pharmacy practice. I'm telling definitely the research has to be conducted with an ethical manner. Since we are dealing with humans, we are dealing with clinical data and all those things, we have to be a bit more careful regarding the ethical conduct of research. As I said, I've not used any references. I just have a courtesy for the images from the Google Images. And this is where you can reach me at jimmy.jose@uniswa.edu for OM. And my personal ID is jimmy_jose2001@yahoo.com. You can send me email if you have any queries, or if you would like to share something or anything of that sort. So things which I know, definitely I'll try to help out depending upon the time and availability. As much as possible, definitely I will respond. That's for sure. If something is something which I can do, definitely I will do that, right? So normally I do respond immediately if I get some queries, but sometimes being humans, we do miss things, or we do avoid due to various reasons, right? So thank you very much. Thanks for the listening. I hope it was of a benefit for you in some way or the other. Okay, over to you, Dr. Jyotika. So, yeah, I think you had to unmute yourself. So just to wind up, like I should say, those who are not visited Kerala, this is from Kerala, like a place called as Kumaragam, that's near to our house, and that's like in Kottayam. And this is from, it's called as Awadi here in Oman. So it's a place where the water after rain and all that, it gets stored or like gets stuck, right? And this is something which I taken a picture from my window, right? So this is just to show something good at the end of the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your detailed presentation. Sir, we are having here some questions.
Yeah, sure.
Sir, I request the participants, if you want to interact with sir, please raise your hands and your icon, just you can click the raise hands and thereby we can unmute you. You can interact with sir. Sir, before that, in the YouTube, Mrs. Mahadevamma, she is from Bangalore. She asked a doubt, sir. I hope that she may be a student, pharmacy student.
Yeah.
She asked that I have a question, sir. In pharmacy practice, to do pilot study, minimum and maximum, how much subject should be there? Always she is having doubt and not confirm about it. Just she want to ask this doubt from you, sir.
Yeah. So first of all, saying a big hello to Mahadevamma. She's my student in pharmacy practice, right? When I was teaching in SSCP. So I'm saying hello to you first. And so basically, like, this is a question that usually comes up in my as well, which comes out as a question all throughout the research career. And in many of the sessions as well as this question comes in. To my understanding, like if you're talking about a pilot study, usually people say that 30 is a good number to be considered as the minimum number for taking for pilot study. 30. I'm not there is. I don't know whether it's there is a maximum for it, but it's basically minimum is usually people say that 30 is a number. If I'm not mistaken, there is some logic behind mentioning 30 as a number. So that is to my understanding, right? Even in literature, I feel like people give us a value similar to that. But you have to understand, like you're doing a pilot study, when you're going for the actual study, like if you have done some changes in your data collection form or your questionnaire, so definitely you cannot use the data from the pilot study for your final analysis, because in the actual study you used a different questionnaire or modified questionnaire. You cannot use the same. For example, if you're taken data from 30 participants, you cannot use those 30 for your final analysis. But there are no differences that has happened in at the end of the pilot study. Normally, you can take the data from the pilot study along with your final analysis. But it will be like you mentioned that clearly in your final results, as well as when you're trying to publish it. You mentioned it clearly that the pilot data was being included in the final study because there was no differences or there was no changes that has been done after at the end of the pilot study. That is based on my understanding regarding the use of data from the pilot study. Right? Thank you.
Any other participants, if you want to interact with sir, please raise your hands. Those who are on Zoom.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions, anything like even if anything related to research on pharmacy practice related research, anything like need not be specific to the slides. So if they have something else as well, I'm happy to share it with based on my experience.
No one asked the questions on YouTube, sir, but they have given good comments. Everyone appreciated the presentation and they said that very informative presentation. They have understood much about the pharmacy practice research. And someone mentioned that It is a very informative session where I understood the funded and non-funded projects in pharmacy practice. Like that, they have given the good comments, sir. Sir, from my side, I would like to ask one question, sir.
Yeah, sure.
There in the woman also, you are dealing with the pharmacovigilance. How do you feel the difference between the Indian pharmacovigilance and theirs, sir? It is there, it is completely developed, or like our Indian pharmacovigilance system they are doing, or just because I know that you are being a part of the Ministry of Health to do this sort of actions, what you are making or proceeding with this pharmacovigilance?
Yeah, to be frank, like I don't see much difference. Like, of course, like Oman, it's a smaller country compared to India. And we have a limited number of hospitals as well as these clinical settings are limited. They are, if I'm not mistaken, like they joined the WHO pharmacovigilance quite early, but still, like we can see that the pharmacovigilance is not so well developed as we can expect probably in the US and all, right? But basically, like people are reporting adverse reactions. There have been activities that has been happening regularly for like encouraging people to do reporting, and we have been involved in as well, like in going, like throughout the country as well as to give presentations and workshops on pharmacovigilance, right? But again, the same thing happens everywhere. Underreporting is a common problem throughout the world, right? So unless there is some sort of push that has been happening on a regular basis, right? Everywhere it happens, because in the busy schedule, many a times they forget or miss to report adverse reactions. And those hospitals, when they're having an pharmacist or the clinical pharmacy department, so definitely we can expect that there are more reporting. But most of the reporting in Oman comes from the ministry hospital. There is a hospital called as SQ, Sultan Qaboos University Hospital. So most of the reports, they come from the Sultan Qaboos University Hospital. But other hospitals, they are reporting, the pharmacists are reporting, doctors are reporting, but again, there is a long way to move, right? So there is a long way to move. So under-reporting, as well as lack of initiation as the days progress, a problem throughout the world, right? I don't think like that US or any country is different in that aspect, but definitely it might be lesser in those places, but it's a problem everywhere. So you need to have a push every time. This is, there should be someone to coordinate, and usually when I teach students, I tell the students that, okay, as a pharmacist, you are supposed to take the lead. You don't expect that everyone will report. You have to keep, though people know right, that there is an area reporting program, you have to keep informing them, reminding them about it at various instances. That is part and parcel. Right? So that's based on my experience.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question which is asked by Dr. Javed Inam. How to constitute an appropriate research question?
How to constitute an appropriate research question? I hope like you're talking about when you're writing a research proposal. That might be the question here or question?
Sir, research question.
Research question.
Question. How to frame the proper research question? Everyone's mind, definitely this will be the question, sir.
If you're talking about a research proposal, I think like the question related to a research proposal, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there are two aspects, as you know, like the research hypothesis and a research question. I don't know like how to answer it unless I give a specific example or something of that sort. But basically understand a research question is something which would be able to relate with the need for the study. So definitely when you are having, as I said, like there are topics which comes up in your mind when you are at various instances, right? So those topics we need to refine. We need to refine those ideas. We need to refine properly to say that, to understand as well as to refine in such a way that this question is something which, if a reviewer is looking into the question, they should be understand to see that what exactly is being expected from this individual or the researcher to answer. Right? So we are trying to say that, okay, with the incidence of trying to evaluate the incidence of so and so in with this particular drug. We need to be very specific with the question. We need to be very clear that there should be some relation with the need for the state as well as what exactly has been finally expected from doing the study should be clear in the research question, right? So I'm not sure that I really answered that point, because I cannot explain it in one word or one line just all of a sudden, like rather than I give a scenario or something of that sort. Right? So basically, your research question should be something that is specific. A reviewer should be able to understand what exactly you are trying to do, right, as part of the study, and what is the final aim, what exactly you are trying to find out. That should be very clear and should be based on the need of the study as well, right?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Sir, my colleague, Dr. Enver, sir, want to ask something, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, Dr. Enver.
Yeah, sir, thank you, sir. Your session is very interactive and
Thank
more
you.
informative. And my question is that being an Indian PharmD staff, what are the career opportunities in your state, country, sir? What are the career opportunities?
For such, right? I should say, like, Oman, as well as other Gulf countries like UAE.
Sir.
1 minute.
Sir,
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, sir.
Yeah, is it audible?
Yes, sir. Now it's audible, sir.
Yeah, okay. So basically, I'm from Oman, Oman. So basically, over here, there's a good number of locals, right? So locals in the sense like Omanis are there. So we have the pharmacy institutions that has been coming up, as well as they're giving much importance for people from the Omanis to be employed. And accordingly, the opportunities right now to join as clinical pharmacists has really come down in Oman. Right? So there are clinical pharmacy posts, there are hospitals wherein clinical pharmacy has been initiated. But as such, if I talk from Sultanate of Oman, the opportunities to join as clinical pharmacists has, we can say that like it's minimal, right? So mainly because of the reason like people are coming out from here with a pharmacy degree, and long run like they're trying to introduce PharmD, and accordingly like the opportunities are less. But if you consider UAE, like United Arab Emirates or Dubai or such places, like there is like the number of people, like the number of pharmacy colleges are there, but still the number of locals are still less who are actually joining. As the number of local population is less. So there is still opportunities over there, like students with some sort of experience. Definitely they can try in places like UAE, as in Saudi, in Qatar and Kuwait are basically looking for people with Western qualification comparatively. But Saudi is one place I think we can look into. But again, in Saudi as well, there are many people who are many pharmacy colleges, and they are coming out with PharmD graduates. But UAE is a good option wherein you can try. UAE is a good option wherein you can try, but definitely you need to have some, if I'm not mistaken, there should be some amount of experience should be there before you apply over there. And definitely the hospitals, the number of hospitals are increasing, and you can expect a more number of opportunities over there. And it's unique in the sense like less number of locals. So there is localization, or the Omanization, like in Oman, there you have Omanization. So over there, the number of locals are less. So accordingly, like people from outside have always an opportunity to get the job, right? I hope.
Thank you, sir. One more question, small question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, what's your suggestion to Indian PharmD?
Indian PharmD students, right?
Students or anything. What's your opinion?
Yes,
Pharmacy practice stop. I think you have an idea. What you suggest?
Yes, yeah, that's a good question. As you know, like I studied in India, I worked in India, and later I moved on to here. But still, I'm having contacts with people as well as I follow up to a good extent what has been happening in India. And I left Manipal at the time when the PharmD was being introduced. At that, I think I talked for some time, some PharmD students. I know like students are having apprehensions. Students are having apprehensions regarding the job opportunities and many other aspects. What I felt like recently last year, I was in Nirmala College of Pharmacy in Kerala as well, wherein I was trying to discuss about I gave a presentation on the opportunities for PharmD as well as MSc graduates in pharmacy practice based on my knowledge, because I worked for some time in medical writing, I worked for some time in pharmaceutical industry, and this was in teaching. In PharmD, definitely they have opportunities. So you don't expect that, okay, I'm going to work only if I get an opportunity as a clinical pharmacist, right? So please understand that PharmD is something like a degree. PharmD is considered as a different degree in India, but in places like US or other countries, wherein the PharmD is a basic degree. It's a basic degree, like it's a basic degree. So over there, like people with PharmD, they work in clinical setting, they work in community pharmacy setting, they work in hospital pharmacy setting. So PharmD graduates should not think that, okay, I'm going to work only if I get a job as a clinical pharmacist, right? So that's one aspect. Definitely it might be discouraging when students hear that, but I keep telling the students, like, don't expect, because the opportunities for clinical pharmacists as such in India are limited. One among the factors is that there is no regulatory requirement to have a PharmD or a clinical pharmacist in hospital setting. Though from PCI and other people have been trying from maybe 10 or 15 years, it does not, maybe 10 years, it does not happen. Probably like it will take more time. But there are places where private organizations or private hospitals wherein people are being employed as clinical pharmacists, right? So wherever people get an opportunity, let them join. At the same time, if you are not getting a job as a clinical pharmacist, if you're getting a job as a hospital pharmacist, definitely probably the salary may not be as high as a clinical pharmacist. Join as a hospital pharmacist, initiate the clinical pharmacy services in the place where you're working, make the hospital's administration as well as the clinicians know what you are worth as, right? So many times, that's what, like, if I go to a hospital right now, if I go for ward rounds, I don't think like they're going to accept me saying that, okay, you have a PhD in pharmacy, like, oh, please come in, like, you are most welcome to be part of the team, right? You need to strive hard to show that you are worth to be discussed, as well as you are worth to be asked opinion about, right? In hospital pharmacy as well, like if you're joining the hospital pharmacy, make a good relationship with the doctors, other healthcare professionals, the hospital administration, inform them what you can do, right? So they may not appoint you as a clinical pharmacist. Tell them what exactly you can do it, but you are encouraged and you start initiating some services with their support. And show them what you can do it, like in the form of probably like you're having a specific counter for a patient counseling. But maybe the starting stage, you may not have to start as a ward pharmacist. Start having a specific counter for doing patient counseling. Let the patients know about the benefits of interacting with the patients, interacting with the pharmacists. Let the doctors, direct patients to go and discuss with the patient counseling center and discuss these aspects. So start in that way, slowly, and make people understand the benefits of having a clinical pharmacist or the clinical pharmacy department, which will definitely ensure that you are able to set up a clinical pharmacy department, and then thereby you are obligated to the post as a clinical pharmacist. So don't wait to get the job as a clinical pharmacist to join a hospital, right? I know, like, it may not be, students might be thinking that, okay, the doctor is telling, like, because he's already a doctor, has done a PhD, and so that's the reason we are telling it. No, I'm thinking from the student's perspective as well. I know I'm thinking from the student's perspective. If I'm a student, if I have an inclination to work in a hospital setting, because I would like to work as a clinical pharmacist. If I don't have an opportunity to start as a clinical pharmacist, I will start as a hospital pharmacist, show the hospital authorities what you can do, and slowly, like, you'll get an opportunity to be upgraded as a clinical pharmacist. So that is one aspect. And again, community pharmacy is a place wherein for people with PharmD should try to work. In the sense, like, probably it is difficult for to work as an employee. Think about setting up a community pharmacy that is, not the conventional community pharmacy, a community pharmacy with some amount of investment. It could be like 3 or 4 students can join together, right? They can form a team, come out with some investment, and set up a community pharmacy which will change the outlook of a community pharmacy, right? In the sense, like, nowadays people are looking into the looks as well as the services provided from any place. People they're more inclined to go to a shopping mall rather than to a small shop, right? Similarly, if you see that, okay, the community pharmacy is a place wherein, like, the patients feel like, okay, worth coming in, as well as if you are including along with the normal services, like some additional services, like probably like a detailed patient counseling center, having some ancillary services. And if you're providing a community pharmacy with these services, and if you're interacting with the patients, definitely you can see that patients will be inclined to visit your community pharmacy, and you can employ B.Pharm graduates and if to be part of the community pharmacy. Thereby, definitely you can become an entrepreneur, right? You become an entrepreneur in which, like, you become a businessman along with your basic inclination to do patient services. And you have opportunities to work in clinical organizations. In medical writing, there are opportunities. In academics, you have opportunities. So basically, feeling is that be confident in yourself, right? Be confident in yourself about what you can do, and accordingly, like, don't wait for the government to create an opportunity in clinical pharmacy as a clinical pharmacist to start your career, right? Start your career in the best way you can. Slowly hope that things will get better. Show your abilities. Thereby, people should be happy to promote you or to start a clinical pharmacy service in the setting. I know, like, there are difficulties, like, from hospital administration. They might be much worried about the income or what are the financial benefits. But you don't have an opportunity that is at hand. You have to utilize what is available and then proceed, right? So that's what I would like to share based on what I've been observing as a teacher, as well as thinking from the student's perspective as well.
Thank you, sir. Every student will learn this and they will get change on their mind. But generally here, what we are observing since last 6 years, they are focusing to go for pharmacovigilance or clinical data management like jobs, like IT field. They are showing more interest, much interested towards those areas. But even though some of the students are, they are saying that we want to work like a clinical pharmacist. We don't want to go any other field. And like that, they have shown their skills and they got admitted in number of hospitals also, sir. Definitely, this what you have explained now that will be useful to the students, those who are in the line or those who are hearing this session. I hope that this is very much useful, sir. Thank you so much, sir, once again. Thank you, sir, for your detailed discussion and ideas for the faculty to do the research in pharmacy practice, not just to focus on the research, and also you have explained a little bit about the life, how we have to work hard and how to get success, how should not be become depressed by your attractive quote collection, what you have shown in your presentation. Really, this is different, and definitely, like me, everyone will feel the same. Once again, I thank sincerely Dr. Jimmy Jose for being a part of this international FDP program. I hope all the participants utilize these ideas to do effective research in future. Thank you so much, sir. Today is the last day of this international FDP program. On behalf of Department of Pharmacy Practice, Chalpati Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, we would like to thank all our resource persons, Dr. Kamal Pereira, Dr. Sai Krishna Gudi, Dr. Narasimhan Gurusamy, and Dr. Jimmy Jose, who spared their valuable time with us to enlighten the young minds in India in the area of pharmacy research. Even though the time is different from Indian time, they have spent their time and cooperated with us well. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Professor Ramarao Nadanla Garu, and management, Chalpati Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, for their facilities and continuous encouragement to conduct these type of programs, and they are giving free hand to our department to conducting these activities. Last but not least, our department faculty, especially Dr. NVR, for his cooperation since from the beginning to make this event more success. Thank you, one and all. So for the participants, you can get the feedback form attached with your e-certificate. You can find on the same way on YouTube. Just you can be click on the Chalpati Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, and you will be get today's session detail. There you can get the feedback form. Just you fill and submit it. By submitting of the feedback form, you can receive the e-certificate to your mail automatically. I would like to thank each and every participant. You are cooperated well for the last 3 days and today also. I hope that we have initiated something and we bring some new points to your mind regarding the pharmacy research. Once again, I thank everyone who has contributed to us to make this event success. Thank you, Jimmy sir, for your kind acceptance and the cooperation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shamila. Thank you very much, Dr. NVR, and thanks to the the principal as well. So I'm very happy to be part of this, and thanks for giving me opportunity. Hope to interact in future as well. And wishing all the best for the students as well as faculty from my side, and be safe. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Stay home and stay safe. I'm closing
Yeah,
the
sure.
session.
I think,
Thank you, everyone.
someone has raised a hand, it seems. Rabia. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Rabia,
So actually,
please.
yeah, actually, I wanted to know that I could not access the feedback forms for the first two sessions.
Oh, ma'am, you can get.
I got it in the mail, but they were all from the third session only.
Okay, ma'am, just the first 2 days YouTube link will be there. Under the link itself, you can find the feedback form.
We could not find. There are many others also who were actually saying the same thing, that they did not find it.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, please, once you contact the email ID which is given at the WhatsApp number that we have mentioned on the brochure, you can note down my WhatsApp number.
Okay.
Please, on the brochure, you can find my number. You can WhatsApp me. I will send the feedbacks to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Ma'am, your voice is not audible.
Ma'am, we'll be getting the e-certificates in the email?
Yes, today's session, under the today's you go to the YouTube channel of Chalpati Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, today's session.
Okay.
Under the session, you can find the name of Chalpati Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. Just click.
Okay.
Then you can find the detail of feedback form. Once after submitting the form, you will get the certificate automatically to your mail ID.
Okay, so what about the other days feedback forms? We will not be getting.
Yes, that is what I said. Please note down my number. You can get my number from the brochure. Please contact me on WhatsApp. I will send the feedback forms.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm closing the session.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah.